course of the meeting. And now we move on to public participation, and we have two items of public presentation, and I'd just really like to welcome Tameth Vijay Singhith and invite him to come and make a speech. The speech, as I understand, you delivered to the National Race Unity Speech Awards, where you were the regional winner for Canterbury. It's a great pleasure to be able to welcome you to make your presentation to the council today. Thank you.
First of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak to you all. My name is Timothy, not Tim. I remember for my tennis coach, I was always Tim. I wanted to let him know, but I didn't have the courage to raise my hand and tell him, my name is Timothy. That was the end of that tennis club. Mum pulled me out, thinking it would catch on. Calling me by the right name is so important to me. On another occasion, I was walking my dog. A car horned at me to get my attention. They rolled down the window and someone yelled, "Go back to where you came from." I've experienced those microaggressions, the undercurrent of racist and implicit biases that underpin our social interactions. Despite being born and bred in Aotearoa, racism is not something I heard happen to a person I know. It's not something I read in the news or watched on TV. It's happened to me firsthand. Our ancestors of long ago saw difference as a threat. A response was triggered, evolution occurred, and yet here we are, thousands of years later, still feeling threatened by those same differences. It's high time we got to know each other. Let's look at the hand. All 5 fingers are different from each other, but collectively, they make up the perfectly functioning hand. In society, each and every one of us, like each finger, is different. I'm a Sri Lankan New Zealander. You may be Māori, Pākehā, Asian, but by working together, like the fingers of one hand, we too can achieve harmony if we try. So how do we do it? Don't get me wrong, change is happening. We celebrate Diwali, Ramadan, the Chinese New Year, Christmas, and recently for the first time, Matariki. The Māori New Year was celebrated with a national holiday. Isn't that beautiful? Not only does this put a culture that may be different to our own to the forefront, but it drives exposure. New Zealand's history and te reo Māori are set to be made compulsory in primary schools. These changes are being embraced and welcomed, but more can still be done. I want to see attitudes represented in institutions. Each finger, despite their differences, must have equitable opportunity to flourish and space to grow so that they can function well. At the institutional level, there are differences in need that stem from institutionalized racism. For example, Otago University recognizes these differences and rectifies them through a Mirror on Society policy that promotes Māori and Pacifica representation in healthcare so that their health outcomes are closer to being equitable with the general population. This type of policy needs to become the norm. For that reason, I propose a race right register, whereby organisations show their active commitment for kotahitanga and racial equity to become eligible. This encourages other organisations to follow suit. Prospective employees are attracted to race right organisations, and it's a win-win situation for all. Let's make colour-brave communities. Uguruta hora behet bona be, a Sinhalese whakatauki. Loosely translates to, one cannot fix a problem by simply looking away from it. there's this idea that in order to fight racism, we must be colourblind and overlook the colour of someone's skin. As much as we like to believe we're born equal, we're not. Sown through those deeply rooted seeds of colonialism, sections of society still trail behind the rest. Now, by being blind to a person's ethnicity, we erase that racialized experience. So if we're blind to the fact that each of us start at a different point on the starting line, the gaps only grow wider. So I urge you not to be colourblind, but to be colour brave. Being colour brave means not being afraid to be curious and not being offended when someone chooses an interest in your culture. It can be as simple as asking me about how to cook a curry. In fact, I'll even bring you a whole feast. We can instill colour bravery in our communities through more visible race buddy initiatives, backed by local council, whereby whānau and rangatahi choose a culture different from their own and form friendships. This promotes exchanges that are grounded in mutual respect, consent, and participation. And to minorities, no, we cannot be gatekeepers. We must champion our cultures and become educators for all. If your white friend wants to wear an Indian sari, educate her on its significance and welcome it. It is cultural appreciation. Cherish cross-cultural relationships, as they can only be good for society and promote racial harmony. I want to see everyone playing their part. One finger can hold little weight, but 5 are much stronger. When our hands are in our pockets, they're of no use. They're hidden and powerless. So take them out, raise them up, and see the beauty in difference, strength, and functionality. We are interdependent. Ka ora pe au ia koe, ka ora koe ia au. A Māori whakatauki. Perhaps I survive because of you, and you because of me. So let my issues be your issues too. Let us stand hand in hand for our issues, whether they be Māori, Pākehā, Asian, all supporting each other. Because issues faced alone are tough, but issues faced together are halved. We're all here to live meaningful lives, which are over that barrier of racial inequity. To climb this barrier for a fair shot, which everyone deserves, each and every one of us has different needs. So for those with more need, let's put a box under them so that they can climb this barrier more easily. Some may need 2, so give them 2. In the end, let that view of opportunity be seen by all, no matter what race. Because only harmoniously, like the fingers of one hand, can we conquer this barrier of racial inequity and cross into that view of racial equity. Kia ora.
Timmy, before you go, I just want to say on behalf of all of the councillors, thank you. You've reminded us just how important these issues are. I wrote down colour brave, not colour blind. I haven't heard that expression before. So I know that everyone around the table, and you heard it reflected in the applause, which was shared in the audience as well, that you are brave and you have invited us to be brave too. So thank you so much for your presentation. It was probably one of the best presentations that we've received. So thank you very much for going to all of that trouble and effort to bring it here to this room. Thank you. No. Thank you. I think Councillor Chen will be in touch with you about perhaps an opportunity to meet with our Multicultural Advisory Committee so that we can actually take it a step further. So thank you very much. Next is Don Gould. Oh, sorry, I was wondering where you were, if you were there. Far away.
Good morning. I think we're going to, Councillor Chen, I think we're going to see that young man sitting in your chair, and Ms. Dazile, I think he'll be sitting in your chair before we're done. He was outstanding.
I think he might have higher ambitions than that.
This may be true too. Good morning. I seem to be back talking about yet another crisis related to water this morning. This time we're calling it stormwater crisis. This is the damn table, folks. This is the table that as a member of the public you come to sit at to actually express the issues. And this morning I'd like to speak out to the social media community as well, and the wider community that are watching on our live streams and will watch this video in the playback. Because if you want to get stuff done in council, this is where you come and sit and air your issue, like I am this morning, yet again. This issue has lit up across social media. There's been a bit of stone throwing in the radio. There's been all sorts of things. If you want to get it changed, though, members of the public, this is where we need to show up. I noticed this morning we have a contingent of people who are interested in climate issues behind us. Fantastic. Thanks for showing up to support my campaign. I'm sure you knew that's why I was here this morning. My concerns, we've got some cycleways that have been built, a $363 million project, I believe, which is undermined by a bit of stormwater that we haven't got rid of. We've had paper after paper about environmental issues. We've talked about shopping local, go local, and I've made that change. That is a photo of the meat sitting in my freezer last night. Bought local from a place that I can walk or cycle to, and this week I can do neither because of the flooding in that area. We've talked about we're going to get to the point where climate change will bring us to a point where there's going to be high tides, high rains, whatever. We are there, we are here now. We're not getting there, we're here. Edgware Village, paper and issues. There's some great papers floating around that were released earlier in the week, which have got some design answers to fix the problem so I can get back into my local butcher or at least provide some remediation. I would call on you all and urge you to stop using these things as political footballs running into an election, but actually get on and support the community by actually making that building accessible every day of the year. Talking of accessibility, I understand one of the projects is to raise the footpath, which would mean you'd have to step down into the building. And then the question comes up, if we do that, who pays for the remediation on the inside of the building? Well, these guys are providing low-cost meat to me and my community, so that cost needs to come back on me. And the way that cost comes back on me is via the council, which is you, because you collect it from all of us and then you guys should remediate it, which is why I've made that point there. It's not about budgets. It's not about whether it's in the LTP allocations. It's not about whether there's an agenda item for it. It's about the fact I can't walk into the damn shop. I can't walk down to a bunch of local shops down there right now unless I've got 3-foot waders on. It's ridiculous. My request, put the damn paper on the table today. With respect, I understand that's not practical, but I'm still putting the request out there. Prove to Wellington that this is the best council in the country, because it is, and we can actually manage our resources because we actually can, and prove it to me, your community. Pull the unrequired junk off the table. I keep saying that, ironically. That wastewater stuff is off the table today and pushed forward. That would have actually been my call, because I had liked to also commend the amazing job that staff have done to address the communications and problems in that community. That job is done. There is a community group now behind that, actually being involved, watching it like a hawk. So that means elected members can now move on to the next crisis and get that sorted out. And with that, that's me.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and it's, as usual, much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you.